2020 was the year of the Great Divide between family and friends, mask, no mask, government and science, church and church, country and country. I became severely depressed, as I'm sure a lot of people did during that time. But one day I sat down to watch one of my favourite films, called Begin Again. Lie down. Lie down. Good girl. It's the story of the end of a relationship, and I guess a new start to life. As I was watching, I realised that this was how I was feeling, as though I was going through a breakup, but the worst one of my life because it was with everyone. So I thought, what if I wrote an album about me going through a breakup? Except it's not just any breakup, it's me breaking up with the entire world. So in October 2020, I started writing The Breakup Album, a working title. So today I want to look at how I'm going to structure this album now that it's finally coming to an end. In 2020, music streaming, both subscription-based and ad-supported, accounted for 83% of US music revenues. Albums make up a tiny percentage of music revenue. The word album comes from the Latin word albus, meaning a blank tablet. It was used to describe a blank book which would be filled with collections of notes, stories, and thoughts. Albums may seem irrelevant today, but I would argue they are still relevant because they are a musician's way of telling a longer form of story. One way of looking at an album structure might be the hero's journey, a story arc for writers. It starts with the character setting off on an adventure. On their journey, they cross a threshold out of their old life into something new. There are trials and tribulations until they come face to face with their biggest obstacle, death, followed by hopefully rebirth, and finally atonement, where they return home having become a changed person. Another way to think about sequencing an album is to go old school. Hugo Turquet, A&R man at EMI, says that ideally albums should be sequenced like vinyl, with an imaginary two sides. Start each side with a really good track and end with a really good track. You want a strong side B starter and a strong side B ender. If you have those 4 points, everything else can fit around it. Yet another possibly more modern way to think about album sequencing, instead of creating a story, is to front-load the album with your best songs. According to this Rolling Stones article, when it comes to albums, the current emphasis for younger acts is steering prospective listeners through the project's early stretches with a white-knuckle grip. People are definitely putting the focus tracks towards the front of the album to make sure those get the proper shot at having a chance to stick. Barry Hefner Johnson, co-founder of the management company Since the 80s, suggests put the best 6 songs up front, make it top-heavy to keep them glued in for a longer listen. Nowadays, if you can make it past the first 6 songs, people almost deem your album a classic. It's the same way people approach playlisting on Spotify. The best song or the most popular hard-hitting song goes at the top. If it's good, people are more likely to stick with the rest of the playlist. Putting the best song first in the album could also boost streams because people will listen to the first songs automatically. But front-loading can conflict with narrative approach to an album. For example, I have a song called Green Toyota, which, from a chronological aspect, should go at the very end of the album because it's a sort of resolution to all the songs, both lyrically and musically. But it's also a song that I've seen connects with people the most. So in today's world with streaming in mind, should I put that song at the start of the album? It's an interesting decision that I have to make, how I'm going to sequence this album. Thinking about release strategies, whether you release singles constantly. I'm sure I will come to some kind of conclusion, but I just thought it was interesting to look at some of these things and make a decision based upon some of the realities that are out there.